Hello guys, today we're going to talk about transfers. I recorded a video about it a while ago where I gave a brief, superficial view of this topic. Now I will go into more details, but most of what I said in that video will not be repeated here. So if you didn't watch that video, I suggest you go back there before you continue here. Okay? To make your life easier, I put the video here in the cards on the right side so you can see it now and click to directly go there. First of all, let's start with selling. How can you sell a player? We come here to the player's profile where I can select the player I want to sell. But before selecting it, let me tell you some requirements that are to be for a player to be sold. First of all, the player has to be over 18 years old. So, for example, if I pick my players, except for this one who's 18 already, all of the others I cannot sell because they are under 18. Okay, I cannot sell underage players. Other condition is that I cannot sell retiring players. I don't have any retiring player here at the moment, thankfully. But let me come here to show you how they look like on a team. My next opponent has some retiring players. So you see here, this side, all of these are players who are going to retire in the end of this season. Okay, so this type of player I cannot sell. Okay, you see this icon here. Other type of player that you cannot sell are players that you bought within 6 weeks. For example, in my case, I have only this goalkeeper that I just bought, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago. If I come here to the transfer list, I cannot click, see? And there is this message, this player locked for transfer until, and there is a date. So I can only sell this player after this date, okay? Besides this, there are some extra conditions, but now not specifically for your player, but for your team. You must have at least 20 players. I'm almost sure this number is 20. I tried to confirm somewhere else, but I didn't find the information. But I'm almost sure it's 20. You should have minimally 20 players. So if you have 21 players, you can sell one. If you have 20, you cannot sell before you get one more. Okay? There should be 20 players in your team remaining. If the player you want to sell is a goalkeeper, besides having 20 players, you should have at least two goalkeepers left. So in my case, if I wanted to sell one of these, I couldn't because I only have two goalkeepers. I should get one more before selling one of them. Understand? I could do this like in my youth team, yeah, my B team. I have other two, so I could bring one of them up. Then I would have three on my main team. Then I could sell one. Understand? But if I did that, my B team would be left with only one goalkeeper, which can also not happen. Then, if I don't provide another goalkeeper to put back there in the team B before the end of the day, the game will automatically give me a bot player, a goalkeeper, to be a bot goalkeeper. Understand? Because you must have at least two goalkeepers. But it's a useless player, so it's not an advantage. If I'm not mistaken, it's a player who comes with only eight in all skills. So it's a completely useless player. Okay? But that's what the game does. One other thing, the last one that I can remember right now, is that you cannot have more than six players for sale at the same time. Okay? So for me, for example, I have some players on the transfer list now. I have four. No, I have five. So I could still put one more. After I have six, I cannot put a seventh one. Okay? Six is the most number of players you can have in the transfer list at the same time. Now let's see how you can actually sell a player. Now that you know the rules. Let me pick this one. I plan to sell this player this week, but I'm not gonna sell him right now because I don't think it's the good time or day. Later, I'll explain you what are the best time and days to sell players that I think, in my opinion. So here I will just show you how the process works, but I'm not effectively sell this player. Okay? I talked about everything you can see in this page, like the information here, here, these tabs here, on a video I make some time ago. Okay, so in this video now I'm only gonna talk about these four buttons. But if you want to have information about everything here, go to the video in which I talk about it. It will appear here in the cards for you. Okay? First of all, let's see this first button, set asking price. This is for you to define a price for a player. You can put any price you want here. There is no limit, I think. And then you save. If any team comes to see your player, there will be a price here, and the players can bid on it. If they think the price is good, they can bet. Okay? If besides putting the price, you click on this box, then as soon as an interested team bids on the player, this player will go to the transfer list. If you don't check this box, when a team bids on this player, paying the price you requested, you receive a message here. Then you should accept or not the bid. Okay? The second option here, reject all bids. If you click here and save, no team will be able to bid on the player. Okay? They cannot just come here and make you an offer for the player. Because even if the player doesn't have an asking price, anyone can come and make you an offer. But if you activate this option, they are not going to be able to do it. Maybe you have a player that you don't want anyone to bother you about because you don't want to sell him anyway. So you can activate this option. Then we have transfer list, I will leave it to the end. And we have fire player. This is basically selling for free. So you simply fire a player from your team, okay? If you click here. And you get nothing for that, you just remove the player from the game. I think in this case there is no restriction. If a player is underage, or if the player is retiring, I think in any case you can fire the player. Okay, now let's go to the transfer list. This is, and you click here and set these options, you're gonna put the player for sale in the market. First we have here the minimum asking price that you request. The maximum you can put is this. If you try to put, for example, 400, it's not gonna work in the end when you try to sell. So you can put any amount between 0 and this value, okay? Later I'm planning to make a video showing you how to calculate these values, how the game calculates these values. This is based on the skill index of the player and on his age. Okay, the same works for the guaranteed sale via agent. If I check this box, then the player will go to the transfer list for this price. If any team is interested, they have to bet a higher price than this, and in the end of the auction, the player will be sold for the highest price. If no one bets on the player will be removed from the game and you receive this amount. This is what selling to the agent means. Okay? In the video I'm gonna make in the future, I will also tell you how this value is calculated in the game. Here I have other options, like if I just set it like this, I can select the agent too and sell. All of this is for free. It doesn't cost any pro for me. But if I want to change these options here, then it costs pro. If I just leave like this, the auction will end in 5 days at local time. For example, if I put him on sale at 2 p.m., he's going to end in 5 days at 2 p.m. Okay? Or I can select these options, then it will expire in 5 days, but I can put any time I want. Okay? I can change the hours. This costs 2 days pro. This third option, I can choose the time I want the auction to end, and I also can make it longer, like 9 days at most, or shorter, 2 days minimum. Okay, so I have these options. If I leave this, it's for free. These other two I have to pay, 2 days or 5 days. Here is if you want to highlight your transfer. If I activate this option, this one is for free. Then your player will just be there, no highlight. If I click here, the text, the name of the player will be bold in the transfer list, but it costs 1 pro. And here it will be bold and with a blue background. It costs 2 days pro. And you can also add a note for your player. Maybe you want to write, for example, blooming player, or 20, something like this, understand? To call more attention to your player. It also costs pro, 5 days. Okay? So you have these options. And then after you're done here with the setting, you click sell. I'm gonna click cancel because I don't want to sell the player now. Let me show you how the players are highlighted in the transfer list. For example, here, let's see this player. See, he has a blue background, he has a bold text. I'm not sure, I think he doesn't have bold text, only blue background. I don't see anyone with bold text now, bold text now. Okay, let me see if I find anyone with notes. No, no player with notes. Okay, this one has a note. See, middle blooming. Okay, these players who are in blue here at the top, this is not a blue background, the same blue background as this one. These players are here at the top because they are all on my transfer, on my observation list. Okay, this one here, my short list. I talked about it in the video I told you at the beginning, in which I first talked about transfers. So I'm not going to explain about it again. If you want to find out more information about it, you can go back there. And here you can see that I have this column here, AZ2TI. This is not natural in the game. I only have this because I'm using a script. Okay. The same happens when I go to the players page. For example, let me open the player again that I picked before. When I go to his profile, I can see these numbers here at the right side. R5 value, max selling price, sell to agent price. These are also not naturally here. I can only see this because I'm using a script. If you don't know what this means, scripts, and if you want to know more information about it, you can check a video that will appear here in the cards where I only talk about scripts, including this one and the one in the transfer list. Okay? One thing that I forgot to mention before about firing a player, I said there were no restrictions, but actually there is one. You can only fire, I think, two players per day, one or two players, maybe three. I'm not sure about the number, exact number, between one and three. You cannot fire five players, for example. You cannot fire all your players in one day. You can fire something between one and three players per day only. Okay. And here in this transfer list part about the agent selling price, there are some investment strategies you can make with this tool, with this feature of the game, that you can buy some players that are not valuable, they are bad, they will not turn out to be anything, but you can develop them to have higher agent price. Then you can still sell him and get some profit. Okay, I cannot explain this strategy properly in this video, otherwise it will be too long. So later I will make a video only about this agent selling price. But it's basically buying players at a cheaper price and later selling them to the agent price. Okay. After the player is sold, I don't receive the full amount. For example, if I sell him to the agent price, I will not receive this amount. There is a deduction of 6%. It's a kind of sales tax the game imposes on managers, okay? So the price their player is being sold, you have to deduct 6%. This is the amount of money you will receive. After you're done with the setting about the transfer of your player, it's good that if you post them in the forum. Every country has a forum dedicated only for the selling of players. In Brazil, for example, is this one. So you can just come here and you create a post here in the end. Okay? Like I have some that I made before in the past for players I had to sell. Okay? Read the rules, then you know what you can and what you cannot do in this post. And it's like this in any country. If I go, for example, to, let me pick a country here. Let's say El Salvador. I will find a post there for transfer to announce my players. See, players for sale, El Salvador. And I come here and post. It's like this in every country, okay? Then you always check the rules before you post. For example, I have a team in Brazil, but I can buy players from El Salvador, but I cannot post them for sale. This is one of the rules. In the Brazilian forum, I have to come to the forum of El Salvador to post. So you can only post players from that nationality in the forum. Okay, this is one of the rules you must be aware of. Other place where you can advertise your players is in the feed. Whenever you put a player on sale, it will appear in the feed. Okay, then the teams who have you as a buddy in the buddies list can see your player. Teams in your league group will see. Many teams will see your feed. Then, for example, let me check the players I put on sale. short time ago. For example, here. See, I put this guy on sale, then I wrote some information as comments. Okay? Then people who see it on the feed will not just see the price, the deadline, and his name. They will see more information. It can help you to sell the player. You can even tag teams here if you want. But if you're gonna tag teams, make sure that the teams you are tagging is fine because it can cause you problem. If the teams complain with the management, they can fine you. You can be banned from the feed for some days. So only tag teams that you are sure they will be fine about it. Okay? Don't just go around tagging anyone. And then what I told you that I was going to tell you at the beginning is what I think is the best time and day to sell players. I think a good time for the auction to end is on Sunday because it's a good day. It's a day when more people are at home, most people don't work, so they should be more available to watch your player. And I like to put the auction to end right after the match because then the managers come to see their match and they also see the players. Okay, so if you see my players here, they are all of them they are going out after the match is over. The match starts at 6 and finishes around 7:48, 7:50. Okay, and I also make sure to make the auction end before 8:30 because at 8:30 is the economy update. So I set my the end of the auctions for like 8:22, 8:20, 8:15. Okay, and to have the auction ending at on Sunday at this time, I need to put them on sale on Tuesday because remember the auction lasts for 5 days. So if I put them on sale on Tuesday at this time, the auction will end on Sunday at this time. Okay, and then you have other option whether you want to other managers to see the training intensity, the TI of your player or not, which is this feature here that I told you I can see with the script. This column here, okay? Now you see that I cannot see any value here. I can only see if the training update happens while the player is transfer listed. So for example, the way I do on Tuesday, I don't let other managers see the TI of my players because I put them on sale on Tuesday, which is after the training update already, and the auction ends on Sunday, which is before the next training update. So there is no possibility for them to see the TI. But if I have a player who's having a high TI, for example, and I want other managers to know that, I would put the player for sale on Monday before the training. Okay? Then after the training update happens, my player will be on sale already, for sale already. Okay? Here in the schedule, they say the training update happens at 5 on Tuesday, but it actually happens on Monday around 7 or 8. No, around 8, I think 8, 8:35, 8:40, something like this, okay? But it can change, depends on your time zone. But here is like this, around 8:30, 8:35 in Brazil. Let us see now how to buy players. You come here to the transfer page. Then you see a lot of players on sale at the moment. And you have these filters here on the side. I'm not sure, but I think only Pro managers, only if you have Pro, you can use these features. But I'm not sure. If some of you guys watching this video are not Pro, let me know if you have access to these features. Can you use them? I think only Pro managers, I'm not sure. And here you can select, for example, defenders. You can set an age. You can put maximum price. Okay, then you do your setting. You can put recommendation. You can choose skills. Okay, you organize according to your needs. Then you see the list will be filtered. Okay, the maximum number of players you can see is 100. There are more on sale, but you see the latest auctions for the last 100 players. Okay, and you see the players who are on your observation list, regardless of how much time they have until the auction ends. You can change here to skills too. Then you see instead of seeing the recommendation, their skill index, you can see their skills. Okay, depends on your needs. You also have this feature here, bookmarks. You can create a bookmark. For example, now I filtered the players like this. I can save the current search, then I put a name, and I can see if when there is a new player fitting this criteria, I can set to receive PMs, to receive an email, okay? And if you don't want, you can remove, you can add new ones, but this is definitely a pro feature. This is one I'm sure it's only for pro managers. After you choose a player, you can even see more information about him if you put the pointer on his name, see? Or you can open the profile. I usually open the profile of the players when I want to see more information. Okay. And then you can click here, make a bid, click in the hammer. Okay. Then here you can, this is his current price. If I wanted, I could just click here and make a bid. Okay. I don't want to buy this player, but I don't think he's gonna be sold for this little, so I can make this bid. Probably someone will outbid me later. If I want, I could put the transfer agent to work. Then I could set a higher bid, for example, let's say 45. Okay, then my next bid will just cover this one. But any bid that is made trying to beat me, my agent will work and give bids up to 45 million, which was what I said. Okay. You don't need to come to the player's page to bid on him. You can make a bid from the transfer page if you want. I prefer going to the player's page because I can see more details about the player. See, now he's on green because my bid is winning on him. Okay, I could just click here in the hammer, then I would see that same screen that I saw before. Okay, you don't see my transfer agent because I deactivated it. Otherwise, it would be here. Okay. Just like for selling players, for buying players, you also have some restrictions. In this case, the restrictions that you cannot have more than 70 players on your team. Okay? So if you have 70 players, the game will not allow you to bet, to bid on any player. Besides, there are some percentages involved. Let me open this player's profile again. At this moment, I have the highest bid, but if I want to bid over this one, my next bid should be 2.5% bigger than the last one, okay? So this should be my next bid. And then if I bid this amount, the next one should be 2.5 higher, and so on. Understand? There is a way that you can get an extra protection. Instead of 2.5%, it will be 10%. Let me take a random player here to show you as an example. Can be anyone. This one, for example. Here, see, this guy has a minimum price. If I want to buy him, I could make an offer to the manager. Here I put my offer, okay? If the manager accepts, this player will go to the transfer list due to my bid, okay? And if it happens, I will have a 10% protection. So any manager who wants to outbid me, instead of paying 2.5% more than my bid, they will have to pay 10% more. Okay? And after they outbid me, for example, I can pay only 2.5% and I will have the highest bid again. And the next one has to pay 10% more, and so on. Understand? So I have this 10% protection. But this is only valid if a player goes on sale with your bid. For example, this player is not for sale. If I bid on him, he goes to the transfer list, then this 10% rule is valid. But if I take a player, for example, let me see this one. Okay, has a bid already. I need a player who has no bids. Okay, let me take my players. I have some players with no bids. This player, for example, he's mine, so I cannot bid on him. But here you see that he has no bid. If I bid on him, I don't have this 10% protection, even though I'm the first to bid, because I'm not the one who brought him to the transfer list. Understand? Here, my bid will be protected with 2.5%, just like any normal bid. That's all for this video, guys. If you have questions, write them down below. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. See you soon.